because one of the things that kind of comes up when we talk about, again, workplace culture and the problematic issues that arise is we try to help kind of organizations, managers, HR professionals understand how to make this more tangible, how to make this more
Right.
real. And one of the ways that we do that is we use a term that we call labor value loss. And this is the term that we use to describe the hidden or overlooked costs of some of the common challenges that arise in our workplace. Labor value loss is what it looks like when your human capital is poorly maintained, or it's the expensive repercussions of a poorly maintained workplace. But really, it's about the hidden costs or the cumulative costs of inefficiencies and wastes which exist in our workplace. And it's an important thing for us to use. It's a term that we hope people really kind of gravitate to, because the reality is, on average, companies are only running at 33% efficiencies. So there is an extensive amount of waste and loss, and the benefit that comes from in our workplaces, and the benefit of a term and a perspective of labor value loss is it allows us to see that we're running inefficiently, and we can put a bit of a dollar figure or put some tangible kind of reality behind it, so we can actually address it, with more intention.
Yeah, the biggest value there around labor value loss is that being able to make the business case. Because in our experience in talking with senior leaders in doing this type of work, the biggest challenge is that if something is not, like, if it's not identified as a line item, if we can't put that direct dollar figure to the problem, then it doesn't get fixed, because there are other things that are going to take priority. And yet we're not talking about a little bit of money trickling out. We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars being seeped out of your organization on a regular basis because of these really common and pervasive issues.
Yeah, and even to look at it again, it's like the cost of poor maintenance, or it's the cost of, again, the inefficiencies. Like we talk about inefficiencies sometimes relating labor value loss to almost like the cost of a poorly efficient home, right? Like when you think about heating or cooling costs, depending on where you live, if you've got a poorly insulated home or a leaky home, leaky windows, then you may not see the heat being lost and your expenses going up. You don't see that on your monthly expenses. You just know that you're having these extensive expenses that are really adding up, and you're not able to really address which window is coming out, which door is leaky. So it's a matter of realizing that these hidden costs add up in our workplaces, just like these hidden costs add up in our home.
Yeah, you're going to see that your energy costs are on the rise, but you're not going to be able to identify specifically where. And this is the same type of thing, right? We're going to see that our employee costs are on the rise, right? We are spending a lot on salaries. We're spending a lot on employee training and on different programs, but we're not getting the productivity. We're not getting the results that we think we should, right? And labor value loss is really the mechanism that you can use to drill down into that, to find the specific value that is being lost from different problems.
Yeah, so like I say, we have some stats that we use to kind of help, again, make this real. We use in our training or some of our content. So I've got a few of them here, and what I think we'll do is I'll bring one up. We'll talk a bit about it, kind of put some kind of context behind it, and then we'll see how many we can kind of get through without making this too long of a conversation. But most importantly, I think once we kind of go through a few, we should definitely end the episode. Okay, this is, what can we do to address this stuff, and how do we actually fix these problems, so we're not at the whim of labor value loss.
Spoiler alert, it's going to relate to your workplace culture.
I know. What a shock. Yeah. Okay, so the first one is one that I like to use when we're talking about a lot of stuff around recruitment and retention, and that's the cost of turnover. Now, I've a stat here that says the result of 22 case studies shows the typical cost of turnover is 20% of an employee's salary, which means that when an employee leaves, the cost of them leaving and having to replace them is 20% of what that position's salary is lost during that process.
Right.
And that is a really important stat for people to know who deal with high turnover. If you're routinely losing, like 10 to 20 employees in a department, for example, then it's going to be 10 to 20 times 20% of the annual salary of those positions is going with them. So turnover, replacing employees and losing employees is not a cheap process.